Hello there, welcome to the Football Block. My name is Brandon, and today I'm going to bring you another episode of News Bits, another episode of the Weekend Roundup. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to look back, as always, on what has happened on the weekend, everything that's happened. Of course, focusing on Europe's top 5 leagues. And I got to say, just before going into this is probably the best weekend that we've seen so far ever since recording this show, ever since doing however many episodes we have done. I think that there's been an explosion of goals in all of the leagues across Europe's top 5 leagues here. There's been some amazing games, but what makes this weekend the best is that a lot of unexpected stuff happened. Of course, the weekend where you had El Clasico, there was a bunch of other great games as well, but you kind of expect to have some major fireworks going off. This one here, there was some big matchups where there was some excitement expected, but there was some other stuff that just came out of nowhere. Some great matches here. So, let's start off, as always, in England in the Premier League. And we are going to start off on Saturday, December 2nd. We had a game that not many people were expecting to be one to talk about here. We have Burnley going up against Sheffield. The two worst teams statistically in the Premier League this season, Burnley and Sheffield, fighting it out for bottom spot at the bottom of the table. Burnley came off of an amazing season last year under Vincent Kompany as the manager. They got promoted from the Championship, but it has not worked out in the Premier League so far this season. That being said, it looks like they have had, maybe a flash in the pan, or maybe this is their season turning around, because they dropped 5 goals on Sheffield United, winning 5-0, utterly destroying their rivals at the bottom of the table. This is only their second win in the Premier League so far this season, but it was an absolutely wonderful performance. Started off with a goal from Jade Rodriguez in the first minute of play, actually. Elsewhere in the Premier League, we had Arsenal coming away with a 2-1 win over Wolves. Now, Arsenal's performance in the first half was nothing short of amazing. I think that they did fall away a little bit in the second half, but they raced to a 2-goal lead within the first 13 minutes. First goal from Saka, the second goal from Odegaard. Both of these goals are completely just beautiful in the way that they're crafted, the way that they're, put together. This looked like prime, Thierry Henry, Arsene Wenger type Arsenal here, where this comes from the reputation where people were saying that Arsenal is the English Barcelona, the way that they play in terms of the just dynamic and expansive possession-based style, just aesthetically pleasing football. It was a harkening back to the past. Obviously, Arsenal, as of late, has been a very good team over these past few years, and this was a blatant example of that. Now, Matheus Cunha was able to get one back for Wolves in the 86th minute, but it was a little bit too late, a little too, whatever the phrase is. But in the end of the day, Arsenal was able to hold on to their win there. Now, the last game we're going to talk about in the Premier League on Saturday was Newcastle United going up against Manchester United, the United Derby, as I like to call it. And this was an important match because these are two teams that are kind of fighting it out for the last few European spots. Now, they're coming into this game with very different expectations for both of these teams. Obviously, Newcastle is a team that is a new emerging power. They're a team with a lot of history, but with this new Saudi buyouts, they have been able to spend their money very intelligently. They're in the Champions League. They're doing well in the Champions League. And in the Premier League, they did such a great job last year, but this year it's going to be tough. Everyone expected it to be tough. Manchester United, on the other hand, is a team that looked to have been on the up with Erik ten Hag coming in, all these new signings come in, but this season has been nothing short of a disaster. And this match here, I initially thought that it was going to be very close because Newcastle just came off a grueling result against PSG at the midweek in the Champions League, a game that they were holding on to a victory for a while, but they had it snatched away at the end of them. A little bit of controversy there with a refereeing decision. But they have been playing recently with a lot of injuries. It's actually been surprising how well they've been playing. And, Manchester United has been coming off a string of pretty poor results. So I thought that, they would look at this opportunity as a chance to kind of turn their season around. Meanwhile, Newcastle, it was going to be playing with their hands tied behind their back with fatigue and also the injuries. But if anything, Newcastle was a team that had the control over the entirety of the match. I thought they played very, very well despite all the disadvantages they had going for them. And this game ended up being 1-0 to Newcastle United. Another loss for Manchester United. Gordon scored the goal for Newcastle there. Another assist from Kieran Trippier. But the result could have been even worse for Manchester United. I think this game could have been 3-4-0. I mean, going forward, Manchester United had absolutely nothing going for them. And, we've seen some good results in terms of their attacking performance recently. Look at a guy like Garnacho and Højlund, for example. They were nowhere to be found in this game. I don't think it was necessarily on them. I think it was just the team effort overall. But Manchester United had absolutely nothing going forward. And if anything, Newcastle was a little wasteful for going forward for themselves. This game could have been much, much worse. But in the end of the day, it's 3 points. Win's a win, and this is a very, very good result for Newcastle and a very poor result for Manchester United. On to the next day. We had December 3rd on Sunday, and this game... these games in this day, it was just absolutely raining goals. First off, we have Liverpool versus Fulham, and this is one of the games that I'm talking about where this ended up being a classic. Not many people were really expecting it to be anything, but you look at Fulham. They're a team that did fairly well last season. It's been kind of hard to replicate those same results this season, as expected. Liverpool is a team that I think have been kind of flying under the radar a little bit. They've been playing well. It hasn't been perfect, but they have been playing well, specifically certain areas of the team. And then if you look at the way that this match started, first of all, you had Trent Alexander-Arnold stepped up for a free kick. He sent in an absolute belter that canned off the crossbar and looked to be just an absolutely wonderful free kick goal from him. Unfortunately, though, it has been credited as an own goal from Bernd Leno, as after it crashed off the crossbar, it hit off of Leno and went in. On first glance, you don't even notice that. It just looks like a perfectly executed free kick. Unfortunately, this goal will not be credited to Trent, which is a shame because the technique for him to curl it around the wall from such a far out distance and get it into the upper corner like that is just absolutely immaculate ability there. But Fulham were able to equalize very, very quickly. Only 4 minutes later, they were able to equalize after a goal from Wilson. And the game was pretty tight. And McAllister, though, with one of the goals of the season, was able to grab the lead back again for Liverpool. The ball kind of pinged around outside of the 18, and then with that half volley, McAllister just had a whack at it, and it went right into the upper 90. Absolutely beautiful goal. Another just goal of immaculate technique here. And just as it looked like Liverpool was going to carry this lead into halftime, a little bit of a mix-up at the back, kind of poor marking off of a corner, led Fulham to equalize. Now, this goal was initially rolled off for being offside, but Tete was able to poke home the goal past Alisson. And just like that, it is 2-2. And going into the second half there, I think Fulham actually probably just with this newfound courage that they were able to grab the equalizer there, actually grabbed the lead. 80 minutes into the match, there's only a few minutes left. Reed was able to head in a very nice goal that was really well put together. Build up there, great build up from Fulham. But before this match was going to be, or before it looked like this match was going to end up as a loss for Liverpool, Endo scored a wonderful shot, a curler from just at the top of the box into the upper 90 after a very, very smart assist from Mohamed Salah, tying the match 3-3. And before you thought this match was going to end 3-3, Trent Alexander-Arnold popped up. He was not going to be denied again with having a goal in his name. He sent in a banger into the bottom corner. A bit of a desperate goal. The ball bounced around in the box a lot, but still a very important goal and a very, very professional finish from Trent to win it 4-3 with only 2 minutes left in regulation. Every single one of Liverpool's goals were just an amazing goal to watch, a beautiful goal to watch. Of course, the first goal, like I said, will be credited as an own goal, but still, this was an absolutely amazing game. Probably, this might be the best game of the Premier League season so far, and there's been some really good ones. This is definitely up there, but at the moment, I think, in my opinion, this might be the best game of the season so far. Absolutely wonderful game, and while this game might be the pick of the bunch, just even today on this Sunday, there was a bunch of other great games. Chelsea went up against Brighton, and this was a game that was destined to be, a game to watch considering the rising power that Brighton is. And then Chelsea have been having a very up and down season. Things look to be going perfect for Chelsea, though. 17 minutes into the game, he had a cross into the box, and then the ball was pinged back into the area. Enzo Fernandez opened the score. He scored his first goal for Chelsea. Very nice, delicate header there. And then only a few minutes later, almost the exact same build-up led to almost the same exact goal, but this time Colwell was able to head in the goal, leading Chelsea to a 2-1 lead, or a 2-0 lead, only 21 minutes into the game. Now, Buonanotte, about 20 minutes later, was able to grab one back for Brighton, and then Gallagher got sent off for Chelsea with a double yellow card, and it looked like alarm bells were ringing for Chelsea into the second half. Now, they had it looked like a very comfortable lead. Now that lead was cut in half, and they had a player sent off there, going a player down, and then Brighton started making some changes. Matoma got subbed on, João Pedro got subbed on, and it was looking like this was going to be yet another defensive capitulation for Chelsea, because they've had a few of those this season, but credit to Chelsea, they held on. They were able to grab a very, very nice counterattack. It was looking like it was going to be a goal from Mudryk. He was taken down in the box. It was a penalty. Enzo Fernandez stepped up and scored his second of the night to make it 3-1 to Chelsea, basically clearing away any possibility of comeback from Brighton. Now, Brighton was able to grab another goal. João Pedro did score, but at this point, there was virtually no time left. And this was a very professional performance from Chelsea, specifically from a defensive point of view. It was not perfect, but it was a very important victory because they were able to hold on despite having these defensive incapabilities. They were able to brush those off. So, like I said, very important win from Chelsea. Then, the highlight match of the Premier League weekend, we had Manchester City going up against Tottenham. Now, Tottenham has been kind of a banana skin for City over the years. Despite City, being this indestructible team, Tottenham has been the team that they've slipped up against a little bit. And it looked like it was going to be a repeat of that, as Heung-min Son scored the opening goal in the 6th minute. Very nice finish from him. Very, typical Son goal there. And Tottenham has been having... it started off as a great season for them. Now I think that they've kind of come crashing down to reality a little bit. There is still some serious issues at the club, but they were able to open the score here. But unfortunately, Son scored a second, and I say unfortunately because this time this goal was not for Tottenham. This was for City. Very unlucky goal from Son. He couldn't do anything about it. It was a free kick. The ball went over a few people's heads, and then it took a very unlucky deflection off his Son's knee and went in the back of the net to tie it 1-1 for City between Tottenham. And then I think that at this point it looked to be business as usual for City. They started to get on the ball. They started to really stretch the field. Phil Foden scored a very nice goal after some wonderful build-up play. Typical Pep City. You just look at the ball being pinged around. I think Julian Alvarez was having a wonderful game. He almost extended the lead with a very close shot that cannoned off the inside of the post. Now, I will say, Erling Haaland did not really have that great of a performance. It was a very uncharacteristic performance from him. He played well in the build-up, but his finishing was just abysmal today. But of course, every striker has a day off, and this just looked like one of those days off for Haaland. And City seemed to have control over the game. That was until the very end. Lo Celso scored a very nice goal. He was able to settle the ball and then sent in a curler from outside of the box. And he capitalized off of a defensive mistake from City. They, lost the ball in the transition. And we've seen this a decent amount this season. Just, silly mistakes from the defenders there. But as the match progressed on, it was looking like it was going to be Rodri time. Rodri won back the ball. Very good tackle. He sent into ball to Haaland. Haaland had a great assist. Credit to him. His finishing was not good tonight, but like I said, his role in the build-up play was very good. Grealish scored a very easy goal to win it, to look like it was going to be 3-2 winner. Yet another defensive mistake from City, though, occurred in the 91st minute. Ball gets crossed over the top, and Kulusevski completely bodies Nathan Ake, who just came off the bench, with a very powerful header that went past Ederson to tie it 3-3. Crazy match here. And I think that City overall was a much better team if you just look at the possession, the chances that they had. But these simple defensive mistakes that they have, they keep being their Achilles heel. And against a team like Tottenham with such talent going forward, whether it be a guy like Kulusevski or a guy like Heung-min Son or even Lo Celso, who's been having a really good past few weeks, that is going to be what can cause their downfall here. And if you look at the table, Arsenal is now top of the table because of their very, very important win over Wolves. And Liverpool is now in second place with their very important win over Fulham. And City have moved back down to third. Now, it is very, very close at the top of the table. And Aston Villa is actually now up in fourth. And between these two teams, it's only a matter of 1 or 2 points. Expect this to change. There are some teams that are still in contention here. In the end of the day, I think City will probably come away with the title at the end of the season, as always. But still, this season is going to be very, very close. I think closer than last year because, it was looking like Arsenal going to run away with it. And then City started to, get back in business. And then eventually it was kind of just delaying the inevitable and City won. But this year, I think it's going to be pretty close, and it's not just going to be a 2-horse race. I think you're going to see, Liverpool back in the title race, maybe Tottenham back in the title race because they kind of dropped out. Who knows? Maybe even Newcastle or Aston Villa can pick it back up as the season goes on because they are, just racking up results, playing very consistently. So far, the season looks to be shaping up to be a very, very good season. At this point, it has already been one of the best seasons I have seen. Now, moving on to Spain, moving on to La Liga. On Saturday, December 2nd, Real Madrid went up against Granada, and this was an important game, I think, for Real Madrid because Granada is a team that they're not really doing too well right now. They are 19th in La Liga, but they have shown that in moments, they can be a dangerous team. Specific players, if you look at, for example, the breakout star of the season for Granada, you have Brian Zaragoza, the guy who just announced himself against Barcelona a few weeks back. This was important for Real Madrid to, I guess, kind of stick it to Barcelona because they struggled against Granada. And, unfortunately, as a Barcelona fan, I have to admit that Real Madrid showed up and did what Barcelona should have done those few weeks back. This was a very, very professional performance from Real Madrid from minute 1 to minute 90. It never looked like their win was in any doubt. They played very, very well. They limited Granada to virtually no chances. Brian Zaragoza barely got on the ball. And they opened the score in the 26th minute after a classy finish from Brahim Diaz after a very good build-up play. And then in the second half, Rodrigo, who's also been stepping up after injuries to Vinicius, he scored the second goal, a very nice goal from him. He has been having a very good past few weeks as well. And that was pretty much it for the match there. Very professional, classy, typical Real Madrid victory there. Elsewhere, Osasuna was able to hold Real Sociedad to a 1-1 draw. Osasuna actually opened the scoring after a goal from Maxi Gomez, but Umar Sadiq, who scored a wonderful goal recently for Real Sociedad, who has been, playing well, kind of easing his way into the team for Real Sociedad, was able to score the equalizer, but Real Sociedad was not able to find the winner, and the match finished 1-1. We also had, probably, unexpectedly, the most important match of Saturday in La Liga was Girona going up against Valencia. Now, Girona, we've talked about this team many, many times on this show before. They are a team that is severely punching above their weight. They are a team that, you were just expecting them to fall. You were expecting them to kind of I guess, falter because they have just been racking up wins after wins, and you would just expect, okay, when is this team going to fall away? And it was looking like it was going to be this match here because I think overall Girona was the better team in the first half. They had a myriad of chances, but it just seemed like nothing was going in. It just seemed like it was not their day. And Valencia has been a team that has been reliable. They have been admirable, but still it's a team that has been going through some serious problems behind the scenes, but they can pop up with a good performance when they need to. And in the second half, early on in the second half, a quick counterattack led to a goal from Hugo Duro, a very good chip over the top of the goalkeeper, and it was looking like it was just going to be one of those days. Nothing was working for Girona. They thought they had opened the score in the first half, but the goal was chalked off for being offside. And as the match and the minutes started to tick on, it was looking like this was going to be a runaway victory for Valencia. That was until Christian Stuani got subbed on, and then with a very, very good finish from him, he tied it 1-1 in the 82nd minute. And then only 6 minutes later, from nearly the same spot, yet again another goal from Christian Stuani, the veteran, the Uruguayan veteran who has been with this club for such a long time. He was able to snatch the victory out of the death to win it 2-1 for Girona. And then it looked like Girona scored a third. They were cooking at this point. Everything going forward looking like it was going to be a goal. Unfortunately, their third goal was chalked off for being offside, but it did not matter because Girona still came away with the 3 points. The comeback victory, a very, very important victory for them as they are fighting it out at the top spots. On to Sunday, we had Almeria going up against Real Betis, and Almeria was able to hold on to a draw with Real Betis after Hector Bellerin got sent off. Very close game from here. Very disappointing game from Real Betis considering that Almeria are the worst team in the Liga this season. They have 0 wins to their name. They are bottom of the table, and yet they were able to hold Real Betis here to a 0-0 draw. Real Betis is a team that, obviously they are one of the better teams in the Liga, but I think they have been kind of falling short of expectations, at least falling short of my expectations for this season. Then we had a very important match. We had Sevilla going up against Villarreal, a game that you would expect both of these teams should be in the upper half of the table. They should be fighting for European spots, and yet Sevilla is in 15th and Villarreal is in 12th. They have not been having the best of seasons. I think that Sevilla has kind of been unlucky for the most parts, but it just, things haven't been working for them. Villarreal, on the other hand, I think have made some very poor decisions behind the scene with sacking coaches and, just in terms of formations and how they're playing. I think a lot of their imperfections have been on their parts, but still, this was a game that was very tight. It was very close. It was a bit nippy at times. There's a lot of yellow cards, and of course, what do you expect when you have Sergio Ramos in your team? Sevilla was able to open the score in the 75th minute, a goal from Salas, and as it looked like they were going to run away with a victory here, only 2 minutes later, Morales for Villarreal was able to tie up the match 1-1. And I think at that point, the momentum kind of swung in Villarreal's favor, and then Ben Brereton Diaz, the famous English Chilean fella here, who is one of my personal favorite players to watch, it looked like he scored the winner with virtually the last kick of the game. He had a goal where he dribbled around a defender, and he then was able to poke it past Dimitrovic in goal. But the goal was chalked off, very controversially so, because he was judged to have fouled the defender that he dribbled past. Now, if you look on the replay, I think Villarreal got... I think they really got the short end of the stick here. I think that this was not a foul. I'm really surprised that it was even called back, and this would have been a very, very crucial win for Villarreal, both morally and also statistically in terms of the table, but it was called back and the match finished 1-1, which in the end of the day I think favors Sevilla more, considering that the momentum had really swung in Villarreal's favor there. Then we have probably the most important matchup in all of Europe. This weekend, we had Barcelona going up against Atlético Madrid, and especially in my personal opinion as a Barcelona fan, this was the match that I was most looking forward to. Such an important and crucial match for both teams, considering that they are trying to claw their way back up into the top two. They are trying to unseat both Real Madrid and Girona. And both of these teams going into this match with very different runs of form. Barcelona has not been playing well. They have been able to grab results in their past few games, but their performances have not matched the expectations for this season. There's been some injuries. There's been some unfortunate results here, refereeing decisions, stuff like that. But still, that is no excuse for the poor performances that Barcelona have had. On the other hand, Atlético Madrid have been having a pretty good season so far. It has not been perfect, but overall it's been a pretty good season. But a pretty unique season, if anything, because of course, this is Diego Simeone team. They're going to have a very strong defense. They're going to be, defensively minded, very pragmatic. But their attack has been, firing on all cylinders this season. They've been smashing teams. Griezmann and Morata have been having very good seasons, as well as their new signings, Riquelme, Lino, these guys on the wings. They've been playing really well, and they've been just scoring a lot of goals. So it's very interesting to see how these two teams will line up against each other. And then you also have to take into account there's two players, Griezmann and João Félix, two players that have now played for both of these teams. More so the specific focus on João Félix, who is still technically an Atlético Madrid player. He's on loan at Barcelona. There was some talk before the game, some, players kind of in some ways criticizing João Félix criticizing his time at Atletico. I think that if you look at these comments, they aren't really that incendiary, but of course the media is playing him up. And to be honest, I think some of the criticisms that the Atlético Madrid players are, levying on João Félix have kind of justified, to be honest. But regardless, the match started off, and one of the things that Barcelona has been struggling with is their first half performances. It looks like they kind of just stumble their way into the match, and this was anything but. I think that Barcelona played amazing in the first half. I think this is one of the best performances that we've seen all season from Barcelona. They played really, really well in this first half here. Everything was working right. I think Xavi started off with a perfect lineup. I think that, had Koundé starting off at the right back instead of as a center back. You also had João Cancelo doing his usual thing. Rafinha had a great match as well. And then the one thing, though, was that Barcelona was not as clinical, and I think it was because Lewandowski actually had an off night. I think every single Barcelona player had a great match except for Lewandowski, unfortunately, which is crazy to think because this guy is one of the most consistent players over the past few years, but just simple chances that you would look to Lewandowski to put away, he was kind of fluffing his lines at. But regardless, João Félix, he looked fired up for obvious reasons. He looked fired up. And he scored the opening goal. A very nice dribble here, assist from Rafinha. João Félix was able to basically glide past Molina, the right back for Atlético Madrid, and then chip Oblak. A wonderful finish from him. Interesting celebration as well. He kind of did the Bellingham, I'm him celebration. And then, Atletico had some chances, of course. If you look at this team, like I said, the amount of goals that they've scored, you would expect them to have some chances. But one of my favorite moments of the match, there was a wonderful build-up play, really good dribble here, led to a chance from Griezmann, and it was looking like it was going to be a sure goal, or at least, maybe forcing Iñaki Peña into a great save. But out of nowhere, Frank de Jong came in with a wonderful block, and he blocked Griezmann from even getting the shot on target. And I think if you just look at Barcelona's midfield overall, it was de Jong, Gundogan, and Pedri. I think each one of these players had an amazing match. And I think this going forward is probably Xavi's best midfield, especially when you consider Gavi is now out with the unfortunate season-ending injury. Into the second half, Simeone made some changes that I think kind of switched up Atletico's formation and also their approach to the match. Angel Correa came on, Azpilicueta came on, and Depay came on later on in the match as well. And I think the momentum, I don't want to say swung in Atletico's favor, but they started playing a lot better. They started getting some chances, and they also really started to target João Félix. They were really kicking him around the field. They were really just, kicking the pulp out of him. And, you can kind of understand why. But there was some crucial crucial moments in this match, and I think this was very important from a Barcelona point of view. Now, Memphis Depay got a free kick, and stepping up for the free kick, he sent in an absolute belter that was heading for the top corner. But Iñaki Peña, who is stepping in for Ter Stegen, who is injured, made one of the best saves of the season. He saved it onto the crossbar. Very, very important moment for Barcelona and for Iñaki Peña as well. I think he's finally getting the recognition he deserves. But also, it shows that Barcelona is able to just stick up and stand up in the face of adversity, because there's been moments like this throughout the rest of the season that they've kind of faltered, and this was a very, very important moment here. And Iñaki Peña came up with a very important save against Angel Correa at the very end as well. And just as the match ended, it ended 1-0 for Barcelona. It was a little nippy there at the end. It was a little, nail-biting there at the end, but still, this was a very, very important performance and a very important win for Barcelona. They leapfrog Atlético Madrid in the table in third place, and if you look at this table overall now, Real Madrid's still top. They are tied with Girona, but of course they have the better head-to-head. But Barcelona is now in third. Atlético Madrid is in fourth. Of course, Atletico have that game ahead, but now Barcelona have the head-to-head advantage over Atletico. Very important victory for Barcelona, and as a Barcelona fan, I was very happy with what I saw. Now let's move on to Serie A. Let's move on to Italy. And on December 1st, on Friday, we had a game here that ended up being a very exciting game. We had Monza going up against Juventus. Monza is a team that I think have been surprising a lot of people. They are 11th in Serie A. They're punching above expectations. They're punching above their weights. And still, though, Juventus is one of the better teams in Serie A. I think they are playing very well this season. They're kind of going under the radar considering there's no European football for them. But they started off this match well. I think they had a lot of really good chances in the first half. Vlahovic won a penalty. Unfortunately, he missed the penalty, but the Gregorio, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, for Monza, who was in goal for Monza today, he made an absolutely wonderful double save there to deny Vlahovic. But on the ensuing corner, Adrien Rabiot, who had a wonderful performance tonight, scored a very nice header. And then from that moment on, it was just chance after chance from Juventus. And even though it wasn't going in, it was looking like they would probably ride out a 1-0 result. Until at the very end of the match, in the 92nd minute, Carboni scored the first goal of his professional career. A bit of a mix-up at the back. He sent in a cross. No one was able to latch onto the cross or defend the cross. It kind of snuck its way in. And it was looking like that Carboni's goal was going to snatch victory from Juventus at the very, very death of it. That was until Rabiot again sent in a wonderful cross after a really good dribble to Gatti. Gatti kind of fluffed his lines a little bit, but was able to score with his second shot, his second bite of the apple, as the commentator said, to win it in the 95th minute for Juventus there. Very, very crucial win for them. And then on Saturday, we had Lazio, who has been having some poor performances in Serie A recently. They were able to come away with a 1-0, hard-fought 1-0 win over Cagliari. Early goal from Pedro. Again, not the best performance from Lazio, but still, this victory is performance considering that they are nowhere near the top of the table. They are nowhere near where they need to be. And then AC Milan came up against Frosinone on Saturday as well. And this was a match that was very important for AC Milan considering how tough a result they had midweek against Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League. A performance that Milan had a lot of good stuff going forward for them, but defensively they made some mistakes. And it was not a perfect performance defensively from Milan, but overall in terms of the team around, in terms of the team spirit, this was, I think, a pretty good performance, especially morally. Luka Jovic opened the score there, a very important goal for him. He has not been having the best few years, really. His career after leaving Eintracht Frankfurt has kind of taken a downward spiral, but this was a very important game for him, and he scored, and he also had just an overall very good performance. Christian Pulisic, Captain America himself, scored a very nice goal, a very Route 1 finish from Mike Mignon, who sent the ball over the top. Pulisic was able to latch on to the ball there. Typical Pulisic goal. He chipped the goalkeeper as well. Very aesthetically pleasing goal to watch. I think he, overall, with Jovic, had a wonderful game as well, because both of them linked up for the third goal to make it 3-0 to Milan. In the 74th minute, this time it was Tomori who was able to bundle the ball over the line after Pulisic played a short corner, and a good assist from Jovic led to the goal from Tomori. Now, Frosinone were able to grab one back in the 82nd minute, but this goal did not really mean much. It was consolation at best, as AC Milan came away with the important 3 points after their 3-1 victory here. Moving on to Sunday, we had Sassuolo going up against Roma, and this was a match that was very, very hard fought for Roma. They have been inching their way back up the table. They started off kind of poorly this season, but I think lately they have been playing pretty well. And especially in terms of their team spirits. They were actually behind for a majority of the match, but a wonderful performance from Dybala, who has been playing very well recently as well. He scored a penalty, but then he also assisted the goal to grab the lead for Roma after a goal from Christensen, and this lead that Roma would be able to hold on to eventually win it 2-1. Now, the highlight match of Serie A this weekend, and one of the highlight matches of the entire weekend, was Napoli going up against Inter Milan. One of my favorite games to watch this season so far. It was a very, very fun game to watch, very back and forth. And I think going into this match, in the first opening proceedings, Napoli, if anything, was probably the better team. They had a lot more chances, but their chances weren't necessarily clear-cut chances. It was a lot of shots from far outs. It was, just little things here and there, relying on the individual brilliance of Kvaratskhelia, who I think had a wonderful game overall. But if you look at this performance as a whole, Inter started to get back into the match. They started to, I think, utilize what they have that Napoli doesn't have this season, and I think that is just superior talent on the field and just team chemistry. I think that once Inter started getting back into the swing of things, the match was basically won at that point. And the breaking point was the opening goal at the end of the first half from Çalhanoğlu, one of the best finishes that you'll see all season from any league across the world. The ball got crossed in, and then I think it was De Vrij laid it off to Barella, who then laid it off to Çalhanoğlu. The ball was bouncing around, and then with one of the sweetest volleys that you'll see, the ball dipped low and then dipped up. It looked like initially had taken a deflection, but it was on second viewing had taken no deflection at all. It just swung way past Meret in Napoli's goal. Clean finish from Çalhanoğlu there. You know, a typical Çalhanoğlu goal. This guy he can only score bangers. Wonderful goal, like I said before. I cannot stress that enough. And then heading into halftime and heading into the second half with that lead, I think that was pretty much all the motivation that Inter needed. Because Napoli wasn't necessarily bad. I think Inter just had better class. They just showed that they had better class. And then that was very evident with the second goal that Inter scored. Good build-up play and a wonderful cross from Lautaro Martinez, who played it square to Nico Barella. He scored his first goal of the season with a very, very classy and professional and intelligent dribble, poked it past Meret. And then with only a few minutes left, Cuadrado, who got subbed on, played a beautiful cross into Thuram, who was able to poke it home with a relatively simple finish because of how good of a cross it was from Cuadrado. The match finished 3-0. I think that is a bit flattering to Inter, I would say, when you consider that Napoli necessarily wasn't bad. Like I said, I thought Kvaratskhelia had a good game. I thought that Napoli overall wasn't terrible. They've had some abysmal performances this season. This was not one of them. The difference here is that Inter was just better. I think this proves that Inter is the best team in Serie A this season. And we'll look on the table in a second, but moving on to Monday, the last game that we're going to talk about in Serie A this weekend, Torino went up against Atalanta, and this was a match that was very interesting because it was the return of Duvan Zapata. He was going up against his former club, and I think because of him, he led Torino to a very, very important victory here. A 3-0 victory for Atalanta. Duvan Zapata scoring 2 goals. 2 very, very nice goals. The second one in particular, good finish from him. Good dribble and a very powerful finish from him. Duvan Zapata, very, very good professional. He did not celebrate either of those goals, but he's coming back to basically haunt his former club here. And Atalanta has not really been having that great of a season. Unfortunately, it looks like they are not going to be able to replicate the highest highs that they achieved over the past few years. Now, like I said, let's look on the table at Serie A. Inter Milan, no surprise, they are top of the table. Juventus in second, and Milan, despite having that great victory, they look to be kind of, maybe falling away a little bit. They are on 29 points. They are behind Juventus with 33, and then Inter Milan in 35. I think there is still a chance that, Juventus might put up a bit of a title challenge because there's still a lot left of the season. But at this point, I think it is still, I think this is Inter Milan's title to lose, if anything, at this point. Roma is now in fourth with their victory here, and Napoli, with this loss, has fallen down to fifth. Now moving on to the Bundesliga in Germany, we had some interesting matchups here. Bochum was able to beat Wolfsburg. Very poor performance from Wolfsburg. They fell 3-1 to Bochum. High-profile matchup between Borussia Mönchengladbach and Hoffenheim. Two teams that probably should be higher on the table, but still historical clubs nonetheless. Mönchengladbach came away with a 2-1 win. RB Leipzig came away with an important 2-1 win over Heidenheim. Maybe not the best performance from Leipzig overall, but still important victory for them. And then Stuttgart was able to defeat Werder Bremen 2-0. Yet another goal from Guirassy, this time from the penalty spot, but still a goal is a goal. Now, Bayern was supposed to play Union Berlin, but unfortunately that match got canceled because of a huge snowstorm in Bavaria. So it'll remain to be seen when that match will be played. But moving on to Sunday, we had one of the highlight matchups of this entire weekend. You had Bayer Leverkusen going up against Borussia Dortmund, a match that was very, very important to look out for, considering Bayer Leverkusen have been having one of their best seasons in a long time. They have been playing beautiful football, and they have been able to back it up with results. Tons of players in this team have been playing very, very well. Now, Borussia Dortmund have been having a very strange season. They started off playing really bad, but they have been able to counter that. They have been able to counter their poor league form with great performances in the Champions League. They were drawn into that very crazy group with Newcastle, PSG, and AC Milan, and yet not only did they basically wrap a qualification a few weeks ago, they are top of the table right now, and they also control the destiny of not just themselves, but a few other teams in that group as well. So it was very interesting to see if they were going to be able to carry that form over into the Bundesliga, and it looks like little by little they have. And in this match, there was a lot riding on this match here. I thought that Dortmund started off the better team. In the 5th minute, Ryerson was able to open the score after a very nice build-up play between a lot of the midfielders and forwards from Borussia Dortmund. They were able to grab the 1-0 lead, but at this point, I think that kind of awoke Bayer Leverkusen, and then they kind of threw everything that they had at Dortmund. They were playing some really good football. They had a lot of chances. Xhaka had some really, really close shots from far outs. It looked like they had equalized right at the halftime whistle, essentially. But this goal very, very painstakingly was ruled out for being offside after Boniface was ever so slightly offside in the build-up. Very unfortunate from Boniface there. But I think as the match went on, Borussia Dortmund did well to hold on. They did well. They defended well, but still, they're just only delaying the inevitable, which ended up happening in the 79th minute. Boniface made up for that unfortunate call early on in the match. He scored a nice goal to equalize it 1-1. I think Leverkusen were the better team, considerably so, but Borussia Dortmund had an admirable performance to hold on to the draw here. And if you look at the table, because of this draw, Bayer Leverkusen is still top of the table. They still remain undefeated. But because of the match being postponed between Bayern and Union Berlin, Bayern have a game in hand, and if they were to win that game, they would remain tied on 35 points, because right now they have 32 points. And, of course, as the match goes on, as the season goes on, it'll be very, very interesting to see what ends up of the Bundesliga this year, considering Bayer Leverkusen are putting up one of the, I think, strongest title races and title challenges to Bayern in a very, very long time. Moving on to the last league we're going to look at France. We're going to look at Ligue 1, and on Saturday, Lens defeated Lyon. They inflicted yet another defeat on poor Lyon here, 3-2 victory. It was very close. Lyon did open the score, but still, this Lyon team, I think they might get relegated this season. At this point, we are in December, and they are in 18th spot. They are bottom of the table. I think it's time we start considering the very real possibility that Lyon could get relegated, and that would just be absolutely crazy. Nice, who have been the only team really realistically putting up a title challenge to PSG, fell away with a 1-0 loss to Nantes. Not the best performance from them. Nantes is not a pushover team. They are in the top half of the table. They are in A spot. They've had some good performances this season, but still, with that victory, it looks almost all assured that PSG will be going into the rest of the season sitting comfortably. At the very least, PSG will be comfortable because they came away with a easy 2-0 win over Le Havre. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Although there was some interesting moments early on. Donnarumma got sent off, funnily enough, but still, yet another goal from Mbappe and yet another goal from Vitinha, who I think has been a pretty good addition to the side for PSG. Means that they came away with a relatively comfortable 2-0 victory there. Monaco also came away with a pretty comfortable 2-0 victory over Montpellier. And then Marseille had another pretty comfortable 2-0 win over Rennes. So that is going to round out our latest episode of the Weekend Roundup. Let me know what you guys think of just this absolutely crazy weekend here. There's tons and tons of goals, tons and tons of crazy matchups here in Europe's top 5 leagues. Some wonderful games here. Let me know what you think of all the beautiful chaos that we've seen on display here. Don't forget to press the like button. Don't forget to comment. Leave a comment in the section down below. Don't forget to subscribe, share this video with a friend. But anyway, guys, my name is Brandon, and this has been the Football Block. Hope you guys have a nice rest of your night.